Hey, welcome back again to my workshop. It's been a couple weeks since I've last been able to upload. I've got a handle basically attached to it behind the scenes. It was pretty boring. I just glued up the scales, put them on the sides. So now what we're doing is we're going to finish up the rest of the handle. If we've got time today, I'm going to make a little sheath for it. I'm going to black it, and then it'll be ready to go. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for coming to Workshop. All right, welcome back to this incredibly exciting episode of sanding down this handle and shaping it. If you know anything about knife making, or even if you don't, this is incredibly tedious. It takes about as long as it does, well, not as long as it does to grind it all, but it does still take quite some time. Basically, all I'm doing is trying to get the sides even. When I was gluing the handle in and digging out a little trench for the knife to sit in, the tang to sit in, there was basically one of the sides is etched in and the other one isn't. So one side is fatter than the other, and I have to even that out so that it works. I have to make the shape nice so it actually fits a hand. I'm basically just using my hand as a guide. I have fairly normal sized hands. They're not incredibly large, but I fit size medium gloves, so my hands tend to fit most things. Right there, the belt snapped and I had to replace it. That was a fun time. And now, since I realized I was out of wood sanding or wood grinding belts, I had to actually just use the one I use for steel. It's a much lower grit, so it takes off that wood a lot faster than the other one was, which does help speed up the process. But at the same time, if I make a mistake, it's gonna screw me up a lot faster. Thankfully, this did not happen in forming the handle. Usually I make at least one little mistake or two, but this time it actually went pretty well. No surprises, nothing really that messed up. I didn't even catch the blade in the belt while I was doing this, so I am pretty pleased with how this worked. Overall, this thing was a pleasure to work on. I love these handle scales. They just look so cool when they're actually, ground down, because you see the little layers that are stacked all coming out. It's kind of interesting that you'll see at the end here, but one of the sides, the layers, I don't know, they're like stacked one on top of the other just so perfectly that it makes like these little neat striations, while the other one is just really messed up and swirly. It's really cool. I put in the little grooves for your fingers. Generally, you don't really need those for chef knives or for kitchen knives, but I like them. It just gives you a little bit more of a grip on the knife, especially if the knife handle itself isn't the grippiest material, or it's going to be slippery, which if you're cooking it all does tend to happen. Your hands get wet from juices, from vegetables, meat, whatever, and it does tend to slip a little bit. So it's nice to just have that little extra grip. A lot of places will make it so that there's just that little, it's wider at the base so that your hand doesn't slip, but I like it this way. And now on to this next one, this next section. I'm taking some CA glue, some super glue. It's super thin, just dripping it all over the entire knife, the handle, because it soaks in. It blocks any water from coming through. It soaks into the actual wood in the scales in there, and it makes it more durable. You don't need it. A lot of people don't do this step, but I just find that it makes a nicer finish, and then you can sand it down and make it super glossy, which is what I'll be doing in a little bit. I'm just touching it to make sure it's all dried up, and there we go. So I started off here with a little 400 grit sandpaper, just making sure that all those little splotches are taken out, and then I realized it was taking too long, so I went down to, I think it was 120, and making sure all those little hard spots and little drips that didn't soak in all got taken down, so it's nice and smooth on the actual handle itself. You will notice that I'm wearing a glove in my left hand the entire time, because that knife is incredibly sharp and would cut me if I didn't. So, just safety first. Always nice. And then after I got that done, I decided to take out what's called little. They're called mesh pads. I forget what they're exactly called, but basically what they do is they have insanely high grit. So you go from, I think the lowest is 1600 all the way to 20,000, and you just go over the entire handle with it. Every pass makes it just a little nicer, a little smoother, and by the end of it, you'll see it is really nice and smooth. It's fantastic. I love it. These mesh pads, I can't remember the name of them, but they're great. They're go in the curves, everything. I think I got them for like $80 on Amazon. They were not too bad. Not too expensive, but I've used them in almost everything. So as you can see here, just going on to the next one. Already that handle's looking fantastic. I also use it a little bit for the knife just to smooth out any imperfections there as well. And this is when I start to just kind of ramble on, because there's not really much else that I'm going to be doing other than this for the next couple of minutes of the video. So I don't know. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know how you're doing. I'm always interested to see if people are liking the videos, what they like about it, if they're learning anything, if they hate it. You know, I'm an open book. Feel free to criticize me. Be as nice as you can, obviously, because people don't like being yelled at and told that they're awful and that they should do something else or unalive themselves. Be nice. Just be kind to each other. Be nice to your favorite creators. Be nice to everyone you meet. There's enough awful in this world that we should at the very least do our best to be kind to each other. Anyway, that's enough of that. I really don't have much else to say. This handle, I'm just sanding, just repeatedly sanding. So in order to stop boring you from having to listen to my voice this entire time, I'm just gonna have to cut this right here, cut out the rest of the sanding, and then move on. All right, now here's the super cool part of this. I love this stuff. I just love the way it looks. It's some sort of chemical. It makes the actual an oxide layer that's completely black on the edge of the blade. It adds such cool colors. I love this thing. There's a ton of different ways that you can finish a knife. This is my favorite way. You can make it to a mirror shine, but I love that stuff. It's fantastic. And here what I've got is homemade paste wax. It works on metal to protect it. It works on wood to protect it. It's just great. Make it out of honeycomb, beeswax. Wow, I just had a brain fart there. Beeswax and linseed oil. Just mix it, and there we go.
Knife is done. I don't know if I have enough time today to actually make the sheath. I might just do it off camera. It's not very exciting. I've got some leather in here that I use. Basically, I just cut a little bit of a form. I cut a form out. To fit the knife, I put a little bit of a wood shim so that the edge doesn't poke through the leather. Or I harden the leather, one of the two. And then, depending on what I want on the sheath, I might add some tooling, might add some stamps, I don't know. But I don't think I'm going to do that now. My leatherworking skills are lacking, and it takes a really long time for me to do anything with it. So I'm probably just going to do that off camera. I do have something very exciting for my next project, though. Everyone, I'm sure, has seen Assassin's Creed Hidden Blades. And my goal is to make one with a 3D printer. I'm going to print it out. And then I'm going to basically take all of the pieces that I've 3D printed, use them as a form. I've got some more metal, some thinner metal that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to try to make the entire thing from start to finish out of metal. If that's going to work, I don't know. It's my first time trying something like this, but you're going to see the process. If it does work, then fantastic. If not, well, then I've learned something along the way. But as always, thank you again for tuning in. I'm glad you've joined me today, and I'm super excited for the stuff that I've got planned in the future, and I hope you will be too. Make sure you like and subscribe. Every little bit helps. If you've got any questions, any comments, any advice or suggestions for what I can do next, make sure to leave them down there in the comments. But other than that, thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.